Oh, good evening, campers. Welcome to the Interesting Modelling Company Sunday service. Good evening, gents. How are we all?
All right. Yeah,
Good.
Yep. Folks, I'm going to throw it out there straight away. We've been having some discussion off air. Have we covered ICM's 2025 releases yet? Because Drew's convinced that we have. I've gone through the old schedules and I can't find any reference to it. I've even gone through the old videos and I can't find any.
I'm not convinced we've covered everything, but I am convinced we've discussed things like the Ericsson Sky Crane, the Nogs Bronco, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I think possibly we've got little bits and bobs in to an evening, but maybe not the whole thing.
Yeah, so I'm just seeing, let's just scrolls down. Theron Hampton says, I don't think so. We'll wait to see what everybody else says. So if we haven't covered ICM 2025, we're all sat up here tonight to do it. So anyway, gents, how are we?
All right.
Good. Yeah. Exciting modeling.
Right, fine. talkative lot tonight, aren't you?
Yes, indeed. We're all ICM'd out apparently.
Yeah, apparently, yeah. Yeah, we've done mini art, but I don't think we've done ICM yet. So
do we ever not do mini art?
Sorry?
So do we ever not do mini art?
Yeah, we've definitely done
mini art. Are perennial, are they not?
Yeah, we always do mini art on this. Okay, right. So shall we go round the good start this. Shall we go round the block clockwise? What have we all been working on this week? So Drew, you're first in the firing line.
Well, I've after a couple of months layoff, I've picked up the Tamiya F-35C again. So I've just been sort of plodding along doing bits and bobs all over the last 4 or 5 days, just sort of making assemblies and doing the bits of painting and all that sort of stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, as you might expect, it's fairly typically Tamiya in that everything just quite literally. So, I mean, the interior goes in there. The nose goes on like so, and then the main fuselage drops into place like that. And as you might expect, everything fits absolutely perfectly. And then your bits like your wings with very, very firm locations go in. The thing that strikes me about the F-35C is it's absolutely enormous.
Mm.
You know, compared to the other variants, it really is an absolutely, it's a beast of an aeroplane. So yeah, I've been sort of this has been sat since we did all the sub assemblies at Telford. So I just dug it out and started working on it again because obviously Mr. Farmer is going to want it at some point. So
I'm probably going to offer you a job in the fire escape trade as well.
We'll see.
Yeah,
so we just started painting, adding some paint to start off the particularly unique scheme with the Argonauts when they first deployed. They had a very metallic looking aircraft, and it quickly became very, very sort of rusty, weathered sort of finish. So I'm starting off with a metallic on this one, and then we'll work on greys and weathering. From there on, once we've got the base metallic color on, So yeah, and it's just like, you know, it's a huge collection of
Sub-assemblies.
yeah. At the moment, it's but as usual to me, you know, something that with the best will in the world you couldn't do with any of the Italeri F-35s. If you want to mask off those bays to paint, the closed doors just drop into place absolutely perfectly like that.
Mm-hmm.
And just, you know, a dab of blue tack to hold it in place. You know, nobody else does that, do they?
So you said the Argonauts had a slightly metallic finish. It wasn't a golden fleece, was it?
No, John.
No?
Very
All right.
good. Very good.
Ray Harryhausen reference there.
But yeah, it's just, you know, you continue to be blown away by the way that Tamiya do things, in that, you know, normally I'd have to be masking all this area out to paint it. But I can just drop those closed bays in and they fit absolutely. I mean, if I ran a bead of glue around that, that'd be done.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the final sort of thing I'd have to do those Bombay doors closed. And having spent a week sanding the ones on the 72nd scale Italeri one into some sort of shape, you can't but appreciate that kind of fit. But yeah, that's what that's what I've been up to, is getting on with the F-35 again. So and I have to say, really enjoying it. What a fabulous model.
I think between you, me, and Spencer, we're quite seasoned with the Tamiya F-35s now, aren't we?
Yeah, getting that way, isn't it? Yeah, we've all had none of us have built the A though, have we?
No, not yet. Not yet. No.
None of us have built the 48 scale A. I built the 72nd scale A and B, and I've built the 48 scale B and now the C. But I haven't built the A yet.
I am looking for you, because you know, of course they're going to do a 72nd scale C. I'm really looking forward to doing a 72nd scale C. I just think to do something with all those stores hanging off it and with wings folded and everything. I know it rankles you, Drew, wings folded, but I can't wait for that. Absolutely brilliant. Ian, what have you been up to? Explain yourself, man.
That's all really. The week. No, the week has been, the work's been busy and things, so some late nights.
That's good though, isn't it? Busy at work.
Yeah. We're starting to, obviously I work in motor sales, so we're starting to look at March and things like that now. So it's starting to see a bit of traction again.
Because I know you were saying it was phenomenally quiet a couple of weeks ago, weren't you?
Yeah, it was. It went very quiet. But yeah, that's life. I have, he says quickly, moving on, managed to get some clear coat on this though.
Ooh.
This is the old Rebel 24th scale Camaro, 69 Camaro. Of course, something probably went down the wrong way, sorry. Which I've painted with the Gunze color called dark blood red metallic from the GX range. It's not as dark or as blood red as I thought it was going to do, but it's come up rather nice. It's a very nice color. It's had a couple of coats of Mr. Color Rattle Can Clear. I'm playing around with this stuff. I put the can in the dehydrator. You know this thing about putting a rattle can in a jug of water before you use it? Yeah. If I put it in the dehydrator for 15 minutes at like 40, 45 degrees, the atomization of the paint is phenomenal. And so I've tried it with this clear coat, and it's worked a treat, actually, to be honest. I'm very pleased with it. As you can see, it is lovely and shiny. It needs another coat. You can see there's a change in the shine here to here. Obviously, you tend to get more, whether you intend to or not, you'll tend to get more on the flat surfaces than you do on the sides. So this needs another couple of passes down the side.
Has that been Trizact yet, Ian?
Not yet. Not even close yet, matey. So yeah, there's another coat I think on there. Then there's some decals to apply. The scripts. So there's scripts here and here, and on the back that need putting on, and some badging and stuff. And then I'll put another couple of coats over the top of it to seal those, and then I'll flat, I think, and polish. I want to just see how, as a process, that works for me. I think it might be a bit quicker, and I think that's possibly going to help me a little because my procrastination levels are immense at the moment. Interior's done for it. It's not shall we just say it's not their finest work. It's an old kit. I think late 80s, something like that. The interior is a bit of a loose fit, but the worst bit about it was the decal sheet, which was a huge disappointment because on paper it looked absolutely beautiful, and then I tried to use it and it's a little bit like laying down lino.
I got to laugh at it's an old kit, late 80s, when we're thinking that's brand new.
Yeah. The problem is, as we both know, it ain't no more. What was that comment about? 1980. So only 35 years from the end of the war, and it's 45 years ago. So yeah, that's the one, isn't it? So you look at that, and it's nice enough. It's come up quite nice. There's a bit of pick out done in that, so that's done. And the engine, however, is a lovely thing.
Ooh,
Very nice. I mean, it's got such nice features as the piece that goes inside the hood to keep the airflow into the carbs clean and all that stuff. It's a decently detailed kit. I'm quite pleased with it so far. We'll see how it looks later on. There's a lot of chrome work to go on this because this is being built basically stock. I'm not doing much with it beyond the colour. Just basically it's a bit of a palette cleanse, but yeah, I did some repair work. I was at the Bolton show on last Sunday, as you know, because we were on here afterwards, and a couple of my models got damaged. This got damaged. I've been repairing this. This is the one old Fujimi GT40 that was built for not last year's tail, for the year before, and got a little bit damaged, so it's been repaired. That's about the extent of what I've done this week.
You see, I think that that gloss finish on that Revell kit, Ian, what you've got at the moment, that's you're saying, oh, I've still got stuff to do to it. That's the kind of finish I aspire to.
You can go too shiny with them. We've had that conversation before.
Yeah.
In this instance, I'm playing around with that stuff, and I'm quite liking it actually. There are other people who swear by it, and for years have said to me, "Oh, no, you should try it. You should try it." And I've gone, "Yeah, but it's in a rattle can." And I like to airbrush my finishes, and then
I think we need to remember that shiny doesn't mean smooth, and smooth doesn't mean shiny.
No. I'm working.
I think also, Drew, I think you and I are going to have to invest in some dehydrators because it looks like it's the next bit of kit, doesn't it?
There's a few people I know who've now gone out and bought them, and they're saying, "Oh, that's fantastic."
Yep. Christopher, what have you been up to?
Well, I was this week. I wrote an article that's going to appear next week, I think, on a website. I'll billboard it next time when it's actually up. But I wrote an article about the PB2Y Coronado and the raids on Wake Island in late January, early February 1944, and it's really hazardous to write about aviation and build models of airplanes because it's like your attention span jumps all over the place. Now I want to build a Coronado, Imagine 6 of these things flying down an enemy-held runway at 50 feet, dropping bombs and strafing. I mean, that's crazy, but it happened. So I'm doing that. I'm also writing about a guy who brought a Ryan STM back from the Philippines that had been there since World War II and restored it. So it's like, oh, Ryan STM, I've got a kit of that in the garage, and it's like, no. So instead, I'm just trying to stick with the Spitfire I'm working on. I got the seat kind of put together with the seat belts that were Special Hobbies own commissioned photo etch from Edward, and the instrument panel looks pretty nice. I drilled a hole there for the wiring in the bulkhead there, and I've been just filling in all the blanks on the fuselage details. Added some stringer and former detail in the tanks in the back. Before I go to the next round and put a nice future wash on there, followed by some dry brushing of the highlights and things. And I'm just trying to stay on task with this. I figure if I get the fuselage joined up and all these little detail parts are safe, I can move on to something else for a little while, maybe back to the Ventura. But I've got lots of projects in the works. I'm really fascinated by the Spitfire right now and all the things that are idiosyncratic to its makeup on the interior there. Things like the seatbelt tensioner or the shoulder strap tensioner going through headrest armor back into the fuselage. Really interesting details. And yeah, I have friends who are Spitfire maniacs, and so I don't want to screw anything up because I know I'll hear about it. But I'm having a good time with the limited.
I wonder who they would be.
Yeah, no names to be mentioned here, but I do have some Barracuda Studios wheels to put on this thing. Yeah, and I'm planning to build one of the ones that was shot down at the very end of World War II. But the 21 got into combat very late. It's a really interesting story about getting the Griffin to work on the Spitfire airframe, and basically they put it on, and they put one on, I think in January 44, and suffered a lot of vibration, and then they to fix it, they set it aside in the workshop, and it didn't have the highest priority, so they didn't really get into combat until very late in the war in April, May 1945. So yeah,
so a couple of mini submarines, didn't they?
Yeah, they sure did. Yeah, so they did have a combat record, and there were some really cool. Really
the late wing Spitfires, the late wing Griffins are my favourite Spitfires. So I love all the late Griffin with the Victor wing on it. And,
yeah. But I mean, I'd love to have a whole collection of representative Spitfires. That'd be neat. And and when you get to these sort of almost post-war Spitfires, you get some really interesting differences from the early ones. And of course, people watching this know that very well. But as for me, an American who's been focusing on World War II American aircraft for a long time, it's nice to go back and jump into the Spitfire pool again.
Do you have the Great Horsepower Race?
Yes, I do. Yeah,
fantastic book.
Mm-hmm.
What a fantastic book. Going back to the Coronado, who did a kit of that? Did Rareplanes do that?
Rareplanes did indeed. Yeah, I have one of those waiting for me up in my closet, and it's interesting. You can borrow some things here and there from other aircraft, but really it's going to be a nice scratch building exercise.
Yeah, I mean, I was just looking at it, and it's a fairly unique design, isn't it, in its own right? I mean, the aircraft I had in my head was the Mariner. And it was like, it's kind of like, no, it's bigger, and it's got 4 engines, and it's actually a very unique aircraft in its own. I was going to say Contrail. I thought possibly Contrail.
And I think Mach 2 did do one, but I'm going to build the Rareplanes one instead.
Yeah, I would say if Mach 2 did one, you should probably hunt out a Rareplanes one.
Yeah. Basically, what you're saying is you're not stupid enough to buy it.
Yeah.
Well, I like when
there's not enough years left in our lives to build a Mach 2 Coronado. Realistically,
I don't have enough. I don't have enough woodworking equipment in my garage to build the Mach 2 one to a suitable standard. I don't have enough. I don't have an orbital.
Or indeed heavy plant equipment made by Caterpillar or JCB.
great big bastard files.
We're not being very complimentary about Mach 2, are we?
There might be a reason.
Yeah. Right, we will leap on because we've got we want to rattle through the news tonight. So what has been going on? I'm still doing kind of catch up and clearance of projects from last year. This is the Italeri. Oh goodness me, I can't remember what it is now. Is it the Bedford? Yeah, Bedford QL. This is the Italeri Bedford QL, made straight from the box for the hobby company. It's pretty much at a stage now where it's kind of ready to go. Me being ego, I want to kind of do my own little personal touches to it. But to be quite honest with you, it's a moderately well-made model that's been painted and weathered. That will do the job for what is required of it. It's not going in a competition. It's not being turned into an article. So that will be heading its way to Mr. Farmer at some stage. And this is my little Tamiya M8, which again, it's at a stage where there are things I could do to it to kind of like to Jonathanize it, but it's pretty much there, really, isn't it? It's I would just be diverting time away from other projects at the moment. So like I say, that one's painted. It's been a little bit of weathering on it. I think that's good to go. I think we'll finish that one off, and that will be it. And as you may have seen, I have diverted myself to build an Airfix Chipmunk. However, That was a model I started quite a while ago, so that's an even longer catch up. And do you know what? I'm really enjoying that. I know there was an issue to do with the wings. So what I did with the wings was I chopped the outer locating pins off, and then the wing lines up perfectly. And all
Yeah,
you've
I
got to
understood.
do-
That's all it needed doing was
Yeah.
the locating pins needed removing.
And then when you get to the wingtip, it's just tidying up a fractional little bit of misalignment, which disappears when you're cleaning up the seam anyway. So right, Glenn Broman says, I built a Mac 2 kit and lived to tell about it. Glenn, send us a pic of it. We're not saying that as in Glenn pick or it didn't happen. I mean, send us a pic and we'll share what you got there. And also Jim Altegott says, nice old Matchbox kit in the background, Ian. Oh, is that the Hawk of Fury?
Yeah.
Well, we'll be talking Roy. Yeah, we'll be talking Roy Huxley a little bit later on. Gents, shall we, seeing as apparently we haven't done ICM yet, so we've put it out there to the posse, to the missive, and they're saying we haven't done it yet. So shall we dive on in with ICM 2025? Not another 48 scale Hamden.
You just can't move for them, can you?
Can't move for them. I'm sick to death of kit companies doing 48 scale Hamdens at the moment. What a brilliant choice by ICM.
Yeah, no complaints here. I'll be having one of them.
Yep.
It's a neat look. It's such a neat looking aeroplane, isn't it? It's such a neat looking
Well,
aeroplane. And a decent performer as well.
Yeah. Have you seen the remains of the aircraft at Cosford?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, when you look down the fuselage and it's full of holes.
I think we tend to think of Bomber Command in the RAF as coming into its own, with the 4-engine heavies. But early in the war, the Wellington and the Hamden were really, really decent performers for their time. And we kind of forget that too easily. Of their time, this was every bit as good as a Dornier 17. And the Wellington was a very, very good performer. But we tend to think of them as a bit of a flop before the Lancaster and the Halifax came along, but it's just not true.
I've got to say that box art scheme by ICM, that is exactly the scheme I would want to build. One of those early kind of phony war Berlin crisis ones. I just think that's a fabulous looking scheme with the B roundel on the fuselage. They're also going to be doing apparently a torpedo bomber version as well. And ICM being ICM, I get the feeling they're going to wring as much out of these molds as they can. So what do you reckon? Do you reckon they might do a Hereford?
I don't know.
When you see the tooling, that's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the Hereford was such a limited run, really. I would hate to say no, but I would doubt it. Yeah.
See, we find ourselves being drawn down the same thing with the Lancaster, with the Beast, with the Mark IIs, with the radials, where everybody went, there weren't that many of them about. You only have to go to Linton-on-Ouse, to their historic room, and look at the numbers of the radial-powered Lancasters that were operated by the Canadians out of the likes of Linton-on-Ouse.
200 of them were made, weren't they? 200.
They were a lot of aircraft, and they were flying out of Linton-on-Ouse for quite some time, and the Canadians apparently loved them. So I don't know. I'd need to see the numbers for Hereford, whether it's a bit, But as Dave said,
I think the thing is with a Hereford, I don't think it's got much of a war record.
No.
Whereas the Hamden does. Now that doesn't mean that they won't do it. ICM are quite good at surprising us. But I mean, great choice of subject. Typically ICM. More power to them, I say.
Yeah, Travis says the Torp box art is a 489 New Zealand squadron, so I'm keen on that one. Yep.
Yep. I've always been fascinated by the Hamptons that were sent up to Murmansk to supplement the Soviets and got left there, and were flown by the Soviets briefly until they ran out of parts.
Mm-hmm. Also coming from ICM for this year in 32nd scale, and this is
want. I don't build 32nd scale. Want.
Yep. Obviously, we've had the gas patch 48 scale kit quite recently, and going back in time, wibbly wobbly, nearly 50 years ago, we had the Eschi kit in 48 scale. ICM will be promising 3 versions. So the first one will apparently be the 123 A1 late in this nice winter scheme. Then 2 others, and
either of those two. Either of those two.
The Condor Legion one is the one that's the one I've got my eye on, and also another early Luftwaffe one as well. The remarkable thing about the Henschel 1, 2, 3 is that for a biplane, what am I going to say, chaps? For a biplane, minimal rigging.
Oh yes, just the control cables on the cabane struts. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
I judged a competition many years ago, and someone put a 1, 2, 3 on the table, the Airfix one that they'd reworked, and he fully rigged it with single bay rigging on the wings. And then was very, very concerned that he didn't win the prize. I had to take him to one side and talk very slowly to him. Yeah.
Was it a nice model otherwise?
It was a beautiful model. It was absolutely beautiful. It was in splinter greens, 7071 over blue. It was absolutely beautiful. They'd fully rigged the bloody. Excuse my French. Oh.
Research is everything. Talking of Eschi, in 48 scale, ICM will be doing another aircraft that Eschi did nearly 50 years ago. And of course, I was going to say more recently, Hasegawa, but the Hasegawa Henschel 129 kit. Sorry?
97 or 98?
99.
99, yeah.
The year the moon was blown out of Earth's orbit. So they are promising
before the year before the great Y2K disaster.
Absolutely, right. Yeah. Oh God, I'm the Y2K survivors here.
Still haven't recovered, have we?
So we're getting initially two flavors of the 129. We're getting a B2 in desert markings, and we're getting a B1 in Russian from the Russian front. It's
yes,
tiny.
Please, and thank you very much.
It's tiny, isn't it? It is no bigger than a single-seat fighter aircraft.
Well, no, it's so small that the engine instruments are on the inside of the cowls.
Yes.
Yeah.
So because
they're close enough to the pilot, you can read them as well. That's the thing, isn't it?
It was only there's 2 little Gnome Roan engines, wasn't it? About 600 and something horsepower each.
Yeah.
So it was little French engines in it. But it's such a great looking aircraft. It wasn't as successful as its looks tell you it should have been.
Mm-hmm.
But it just looks right as a close support aircraft, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's very much an A10 of the 1940s.
Yeah. Now I can see Drew.
That's a beautiful piece of box art as well.
It is. I can see this featuring in both of our modelling diets this year. So
well, I bought the big book of Henschel 129s the other year, which was about 65 quid, but as a beautiful tome on all variants of the 129. Is
that Classic Publications or someone like that?
Oh, I can't. I'd have to go to
the piecework on Luftwaffe camouflage, isn't it, from the beginning, pre-war all the way through.
Yeah, no, this is a complete. This is full of engineering drawings and stuff. Complete history of the type. But yeah, it was. It's a great looking aeroplane.
I'm with you on that.
Also coming from ICM, they're doing a new variant on their Dornier 217. So they're doing the big rounded greenhouse version. So they're doing it as a K1. and they're also doing it as an M1 as well. I got to say, out of the two, that's the one I like the look of. I do like that. Do like that kind of that night scheme.
I think they're both. I mean, there's another couple of. They're just making great choices. I think just great choices for the enthusiast. It just they've got the basic kit for this done quite a few years ago, which is a really sound, nice model.
Yeah, that was. I'm just pulling up my notes here. I think that was 2018.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Which to me, 2018 still feels fairly recent. Actually, we're coming up to lapping it, aren't we?
Well, yeah, very, very much. But this was at the time, sort of 2018 was just sort of like 3 or 4 years after ICM had really kicked into a new gear with quality, and we're really starting to become some of the best out there. So this is an incredibly sound base to modify into this variant. You're getting a good kit anyway. So
yeah. ICM has figured out that there's a big gap or big gulf in the modeling world around twin engine aircraft from World War II. Besides 25s and mosquitoes maybe, but
Well, we'll come back to more twin-engined aircraft in a second. But Ian, here's one for you. This is they're doing some new variants from their 2024 Ford A, and they're doing two here. They're doing a gangster car and they're doing a Russian Gaz in a second. But have you seen any of these ICM Ford A's?
I have, and it's very nice. Their model, if it's anybody that's built their Model T from a few years ago will recognise the quality. They're beautifully engineered. They're not. How can I put this? So, customizing guys will hack kits about. That is a perfectly produced stock representation of a Model A. So, if that's what you want to build, or if you want to do a custom car or a hot rod that is a conversion, you end up converting it the same way as the real car guys did. They're that well detailed. They're absolutely beautiful. The wheels in that are brilliant. Absolutely.
I've got to say, you're talking about the wheels. This so reminds me of the stuff that my late Uncle Roger used to build. And I just seeing those lime green wheels. I want to build an ICM car at some stage this year, and this may be the one. As much as my instinct says, do the Gaz one because we can hide it in mud. But no, I don't know. I prefer the gangster one. But
apple green, by the way, the wheels.
Right, apple green. Right,
it's an official Ford colour.
There you go, kids. Well, every day's a school day.
Someone corrects me.
But this looks like an interesting variant as well.
Bring back running boards, I say.
Absolutely, yeah.
And Thompson machine guns and good suits.
That would sort out the congestion problem, wouldn't it? Not that I'm advocating that. And Drew, I do declare you've built the 48 scale ICM Bronco, haven't you?
I built the A, I have the D, and now they're rounding it off with the NOGS, which was the night observation and gunship system, which I'm convinced we talked about a few weeks ago on here. But anyway, this was really the prototype for the night observation, the OV10D, which saw long and distinguished service. So this was from the early 70s. As you can see, it's got no sponsons. It's got a 3-barrel M197 20mm cannon under the belly, and a couple of rocket pods. So these are actually deployed to Vietnam as well, and did some trials in Vietnam. And kind of paved the way for the later OV10D with the no sensors, retained the sponsons, but had things like more powerful engines, different props. So I'm really happy to see this, and this is going to give my airbrush a really good workout. Because they were just. Rory said you did this a few weeks ago. I thought we did as well, but I'm apparently being told we didn't. But I thought we did. but anyway, that we'll cover it again. Yeah, great release. I can't wait for it. It's a fantastic model. So highly recommended to anyone.
We might have done this with it might have been some CAD renders. We definitely haven't done it with the box art, Drew. So that might be where we're.
Spencer said we did cover it a few weeks ago.
Okay.
And I think we did do it with box art as well, because we were commenting on the quality of the box art.
Okay.
Do I have a collection of Airfix doing that aircraft at some point?
Yes, they retooled it in 1984, I think. Their OV-10A, they retooled it to a Nogs Bronco.
Another one I started and never finished, Imperial. There you go.
Box art was also shown. I'm going to have to go back through some of the older shows and see if I can find that, because I tried doing it today and I could not, for the life of me, find any reference to ICM stuff. And Rory's piling it on here with box art. Yeah, all right. Well, we'll go back. Also, we definitely haven't done these at the moment, and this is definitely in Chris's neck of the woods. They're doing more variants of their B-26 Marauder, so they're doing a boxing with American and French markings, ooh la, and actual French, Mr. Horn, and then they're doing some other boxing: Conquerors of Europe Sky, Marauder Mark III, Royal Air Force, South African Air Force, Airfield of the American Bomber Group, and B-26F Marauder World War II American Bomber. Chris, does that put a smile on your face?
Oh yeah. I can't wait to see more of these built. These are really.
Well, it's a fantastic model, isn't it? And
yeah,
I was hoping they were going to follow with an FG and obviously a Mark III. Because these are all basically all you need is new fuselage halves, isn't it?
Yeah,
effectively, because it's just the angle of the incidence on the wing is different. And again, we did cover this the other week. We discussed this again.
Yeah, but did we have the box art though? I'm sure we were doing CAD renders.
Can I ask a dumb question? What's the difference between an F and a G?
Basically, it's equipment, internal equipment. Is some engine was different engine, but effectively it's the F and the G were very similar, just different equipment. I don't know if Chris can elucidate any.
Yeah, it's the next level up of those R2800s, and then internal equipment, and a lot of it was simplification. Get rid of stuff.
No, obviously I know that the G is F and G are basically the same wing from the previous aircraft, but with a different angle of incidence.
That was it. Just meant that in the cruise, it didn't fly nose up in the cruise. The angle of incidence meant that the fuselage was tilted down, so it flew with a more level attitude rather than nose up.
I should know all this stuff. I've read it at some point. Some of it doesn't stick anymore, I'm afraid.
But that F1 there on the bottom right has got no turret either.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, interesting.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, it's got no armament at all that I can see.
Been turned into a hack.
Post-war stuff?
Well, the Marauder was one of those aircraft that really disappeared very, very quickly after the end of the war. A few of them were the U.S. Navy used one for trials with a bicycle undercarriage, didn't they?
There's the
Middle River Stump Jumper, I think it was called. Much like the Hawker Typhoon, at the end of World War II, the Marauder just kind of vanished. I think it was always a challenging aeroplane to land, certainly, and I think they, in spite of the fact that it did, fantastic service in World War II, everybody was looking at the Douglas Invader at that point and going, "Yeah, we'll stick with that." It's just
the people that made the decisions were still of the mind that the Marauder was too dangerous a plane for most pilots. The B-25 was a lot more sedate. We'll keep those around for second line medium bomber operations. We've got lots of A-26s now. We can hang on to those. Why we could hang on to those until the 60s. And they did.
And we did.
Yeah.
And we did. Yeah, I think it was just one of those aircraft that it did great service, and then just there was no need for it, was there?
No.
We've got a comment here from Lox9. They're saying Trumpeter are doing a Breguet BR 1050 Elise in
They are.
1/48th.
They are.
That's going to be a big aeroplane.
That Gannet. It's a bit smaller than the Gannet.
I thought it was slightly
Yeah.
bigger. Still a big aeroplane.
Yeah. Oh no, yeah. It's not an insignificant lump of metal, but it's pretty much analogous to the Gannet, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
And Dave says about the B-26 disappeared so completely they reused its designation, which they did with the Invader, didn't they?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much our highlights of the ICM releases for 2025. Some of which may have been on the show before, some of which may not have been on the show before. But anyway, there we go. Head over to icm.co.ua and have a look and see if you can pick out your own favorites. And we did post the catalog on the Interesting Modeling Company Facebook page as well. So there we go. So out of all those ICM releases, Drew, which are the ones that we'll go around the table, but which are the ones that you'll be throwing your debit card at?
of the aircraft,
Well, of
all of them.
Yeah, of all of them. Yeah.
It's such a fantastic lineup that
I'm waiting for you to say the Model A now.
yeah,
I will get him to build a car at some stage, Ian.
I'm looking forward, like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing more B-26s built. But honestly, if I was going to build one of these models, it was probably the Model A, Ian, because I don't build 48 scale, and that is such a great subject, such a universal subject, especially in the United States. You still see them once in a while. So yeah, there's one over at the Niles Silent Film Museum, parked out in front, marked for Charlie Chaplin and Bronco Billy, because that was the car they used to shuttle them around in Niles, and that was America's Hollywood, the first Hollywood, and it's still there. So that'd be a great subject.
Yeah, I just like that black finish with the apple green wheels on it. I just think, like I say, it just reminds me of the stuff my Uncle Roger used to build, and I do want to build something as a kind of a testament and a tribute to him, and also just something that isn't a tank and an airplane, quite frankly. So I do like to vary it up a bit. I'm just having a so of what are here we go. Mike Williams says ICM Rauder, great kit. And Andy King is looking forward to the 32nd scale Henschel. Jet scale models. I'll be building the 48 scale Bristol Beaufort Mark 1A torpedo bomber on my channel once it arrives from ICM. Oh, we look forward to that. Send us a link to that. And Travis says there's a car museum in New Zealand that has a bullet riddled US gangster car. No idea how it ended up down here.
not the car.
No, not the car. No. Let's just have a look and see. Yeah, John Huston says SWS did a 32nd scale Henschel 129. Yep, this new ICM one is 48th. And Lox9 also says we need ICM to do British jets from the Cold War. Personally speaking, I completely disagree, but that's because I'm looking after the home interests here. So,
you're looking after the home team.
The home interest.
Yep.
Get the ball right with the Hamden or the Beaufort. So plenty of time.
Yeah. No. So, gents, we are poking through 21 minutes past the hour here. We've done the news. I'm just going to throw it open to you. Like an extended any other business tonight. So go for it.
I'm just looking down the comments. Roy says, have you discussed the teased release from IBG to be announced on Tuesday? Roy, it's been discussed so tediously online. I'm sick of it now. Just tell us what it is or shut up.
Absolutely
had it. Yeah. Is that sort of teasing thing is fine for like 2 or 3 days. once it goes past that, I'm just like, you know what, I've had enough. I don't care anymore. And you know that sort of 50% of people are going to go, oh, and 50% of people are going to go, oh. So, you know,
just get on with it. Just tell us, lads.
Yeah, it's just oh, has it really got 27 different canopies?
What?
Oh, it's, you know, it's like canopies, 9 wings, 5 fuselage. It's just like, I'm just bored now. Just tell
but
us.
what do you think it could be though, Drew?
John, everything I thought it could be has been wrangly sort of wrangly sort of nullified by the options they're offering.
Force yourself, man. Force yourself.
All right, it's going to be Spitfires.
Yeah.
There you go.
Right. It's going to be a Spitfire because that would make.
I mean, I might possibly. I've got a little bit of vestigial enthusiasm for the possibility that it might cover Griffin Spitfires properly at last in 72nd. Other than that,
and that would be my fault because I'm
obviously. Yeah. Other than that, I couldn't. I'm really past caring.
I could see you jumping at a 72nd scale Spitfire Mark 12 though.
Any Griffin, if they're doing Griffins and they get it right and they use the right research, I'll be all over every Griffin variant. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned at this point, I want a decent high back 14 in 72nd and 48th with C and D wings.
Why? What's wrong with the Fujimi kit, for goodness sake?
I want a decent Mark 14 in high back hands.
Yeah, and we drew on this. I mean, the boring. Give it 48 hours of teasing us, then tell us, because after 48 hours, my attention span's gone elsewhere. But yeah, you're right. A good series of late war Griffin Spitfires in 72nd scale is woefully overdue.
Yeah, the drip is kind of painful. The different wings, different canopies, different landing gear struts, different propellers, different carburetor intakes. No, stop. Just tell us.
But it's all about engagement, though, isn't it? It's all about driving. It's all about driving.
I just engaged 5 days ago.
Can I comment on something, Dave?
Now the only time I'm discussing it is when people discuss it with me. Other than that, I simply couldn't care less anymore.
Yeah, I think Roy possibly misinterpreted our comments about the Fujimi Spitfires as us being serious in some way. We're not, Roy. As Roy says, Fujimi has a lot of shape problems. Has a lot of shape problems, a lot of fit problems. It just has a lot of problems, full stop, doesn't it? It's just, oh, goodness me. Somewhere, going back wibbly wobbly 30 years ago, I started building one of those Fujimi Spitfires. I stopped very quickly. I just got fed up with the damn thing. Everything just didn't fit. And
I mean, Mike there says, you know, all the teaser they did before, then the Gotha left a lot of folks feeling meh. That's exactly how I felt. Although I have been sort of kind of, when they've announced it and they've shown the variations and the box arts and stuff, it has sort of drawn me back slightly more in. But I was so hoping it was going to be something like an Arado T234, or, you know, it's just, you know, but they've chosen what they've chosen. So, you know,
Hobby Time is asking, what's the Airfix Mark 12 48th like?
It's actually a decent little model. I built it when it was released. I think most of us have built one at some point. It's actually, I think it's one of their better Griffin attempts. A little bit of an odd canopy setup, but I just think it builds really, really nicely.
Wow. There we go. This is one that I started building when it came out.
2012?
Yeah, goodness me. It still feels like the recent past, but that's a long time ago, isn't it? So, yeah, this was being built straight from the box. It's, as you can see, it's got some decals on it. This is also joining the shameful list of projects to finish off at some stage. But yeah, it's not got any issues with it, quite frankly. It builds nicely. I always thought that the depth of the fuselage there was a little bit a fraction overcooked, but But nothing. It doesn't. Let's just put it this way. There have been some. Somebody put up on one of the other pages. It was some kits. Oh goodness me, I can't remember what the name of the company was now, but they're literally like Lego, and yeah, this isn't Lego. So, but yeah, I will get round to finishing that off at some stage. So,
Sorry, Dave Fleming has said he has an old Airfix gangster car, which I think is the old MPC kit.
yes.
Has recently been reissued. Came with different windscreens with and without bullet holes, Thompsons, and all sorts of lovely, nice bits chucked in. To be honest, the earlier Airfix boxings are actually starting to attract a little bit of money at the minute because they are what they are. But they have reissued it recently with a motorbike and rider in it as well. So there's a little chuck-in. It's a great little kit. Phenomenally build. And but I think, if I remember correctly, Lincoln might have been a Lincoln, but they did a couple. And AMT did a double box set with what if I remember correctly, is a Model A and a Model B as a Bonnie and Clyde, and they had like a liner inside the box lid and bullet holes.
Yeah,
and a card scene thing to build up inside them as well with the models.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
I'm more plugged in here than I was at Southmead, because I would go to the bookcase back there and go and grab one of the Airfix books, because there is a photograph in there.
Dave just said that's the one.
Yeah.
They're great little things.
What was it again? I'll probably find it online. It was
I believe it was a Lincoln. I stand to be corrected, but
I'm just doing Airfix Lincoln gangster car.
Yeah, it's gangster car. It came with an assortment of appropriate projectile weapons, bullet holes in the windscreen, and
yeah, I think I found it.
Also,
1928 Lincoln, says Mike.
I found the MPC boxing, but yes, scrolls up.
That's it.
Yeah, Lincoln Roadster, wasn't it?
Yeah. A lot of now, this is going to be radical now. Those in that era, those MPC and APC stuff, they were quite radical in the way they looked at stuff. The bullet holes in the box, the Bonnie and Clyde tie into the film and things like that, they were clever. And sometimes think we've lost a little bit of that cleverness somehow. Yeah, we've got some phenomenal subjects and some. I mean, 20 years ago, if I'd said to you, you're going to have a lovely New Tool Nogs Bronco kit in 48 scale, you'd have laughed in my face. But,
the one thing that's happened in the last couple of decades is that literally nothing is off the table anymore, is it?
No, nothing. I mean, we were looking at that. Was it last week when we were on with Mike, or the week before, with that French submarine carried aircraft?
What are you doing, Cat? Oh, God.
Have you been catted, Drew?
I have been comprehensively catted. He's managed to climb in and knock the bin over as he came in, and is now looking at me like it's my fault. Clearly,
it was your fault. Yeah, don't Drew. You'll attract his royal derpiness's attention, and
that is the criminal in.
Yeah, it's like your twins.
Yeah.
Viewer David says, has anyone mentioned Spencer's sparkling silver test? I'll be using it as an excuse to pop into my local hobby shop and raid the LP paint rack.
Turns out Ian was right.
Who knew?
Yeah, well,
I didn't. Did you read my comment in response to it? I've spent the last week bricking it, waiting for him to test it and tell me I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
But then he did, and he didn't tell me I was an idiot. I was like, oh, that'll do. So, hey-ho.
No, you're not an idiot. It's actually quite spectacular, isn't it?
For what it costs compared to what some of the really expensive chrome finishes we've had put to us over the years, foisted on
Yeah,
us.
the only thing more spectacular about that finish is how spectacularely badly named the paint is.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
And I just think that sometimes it's these direct translations don't like that dark blood red metallic.
Mhm.
That's neither blood red nor dark.
Yeah, it's more of a burgundy, isn't it? It's
So it may well be that if we go from burgundy to the Japanese or whatever, we'll get the same word as they translated back the other way and it went wrong. So you don't know, dear. So,
Yeah, I'm just gonna. Sorry, Spence. Well, I am stealing this off of your Facebook page, but there is Spencer's sparkling silver, and yeah, I'm going to be having
as a sprayed finish. That is as shiny as you'll ever get off a sprayed finish, isn't it?
over gloss black, I do believe. I'm sure Spence will put me right on this, but yeah. So I will be sending a text message to Mr. Farmer tomorrow, turning down his job on the fire escape trade, but I will be asking him for some of this sparkling silver.
I've seen a couple of people say they've had different results. It all comes down to what's underneath it and how thinly you apply it.
Yeah.
So it is a really good gloss black. Now, to get the mirror finish that Spencer saw last Sunday, I've got to get this right in my head because I did it over a couple of weeks. I did 3 coats of lacquer gloss black. I polished them between coats. I then overcoated it with a clear coat, LP9 actually, thinned with leveling, and polished it. And then I dusted on. I really did dust. In fact, I'm thinking actually you showed me that might suggest that I may have actually used that gloss black.
That is the best gloss black paint I have ever sprayed. Full stop, end of story, no arguments. That's it. I very rarely go to a shop now, to go to a model shop, where I don't walk out with a bottle of that just to make sure I've got stocks of it. It is, if you thin it right back with any of the, you can, even the rapid stuff, if it goes on wet, it's fine. And it just, if you, I've got a little agitator in there, and that's like thinned back about 70 or 80% in there. And it is just the best gloss black, full stop. End of story.
The Tamiya LP1 is very usable and very easy to use. The GX has a deeper luster to it straight out the jar, to my mind.
Yeah,
and I think that's possibly because the GXs have got extra pigment in them over the standard range. I think that is my understanding of what they are. So it does give a deeper luster. And so I'm actually thinking now, that might have been the gloss black I used on them wheel discs, but yeah, it's at least a year since I painted them, so the brain isn't necessarily remembering everything there.
We're going to end it tonight, and we end tonight with the sad news last week of the passing of the late great Roy Huxley, who for many of us was the other Roy from our childhoods. And Roy Huxley was the man responsible for the greater amount of box art for this new venture from Lesney Products Limited back in the early 1970s, Matchbox Kits. So those of us who grew up in the UK will obviously remember the Matchbox diecast, but suddenly having Matchbox kits out there, and as Ian has got on his workbench there, the very first Matchbox kit, which was PK1, the Hawker Fury. I think it's fair to say Drew and I have very fond memories of Matchbox. Ian, what's your take on that?
The subject matter was always the thing. It was just some edgy stuff. You know, 70 Seconds Go Fury. I'm not going to open the content of that box because it's actually a part built that acquired a while ago, and it's appalling. But you look at that, and I just liked the way they were presented.
Yeah, that's all Roy's artwork there, by the way. cramming, a bit like Roy Cross, cramming the subject matter into an impossible shape, but in order to do the maximum excitement on it, though.
Yeah. I'm. It's weird that both the two eminent aviation airfix and Matchbox both were called Roy. I actually met Roy Cross in a couple of cases. I've never met Roy Huxley, and I was quite disappointed about that. Actually.
Yeah, I am as well.
He was a very. Both of them had a very different style. I think someone touched on this over in the week. It might have been yourself. In that Roy's stuff was always very clinically detailed and clean and crisp, and Roy Huxley's stuff has more, in some ways, of almost an impressionist element to it.
Yeah, Spence touched upon that in his blog post as well, and yeah, it's but just both absolutely fabulous artists, though, weren't they?
This is the disappointing bit, though, because you'll pay a damn sight more than 50p for it now.
Yep. Drew, your favourite piece of how long's a piece of string? Your favourite piece of Roy Huxley box art?
I still maintain that the P51D Dooley Bird is just. It was my first proper exposure to Matchbox kits, and then later that same day, in actual fact, with the Thunderbolt, my friend got the Mustang, and later the same day I got the Thunderbolt.
Right.
And I'd have to say, outside it, so yeah, it's fabulous, isn't it? Absolutely fabulous. And then the Mitchell, and the A7D Corsair.
Ian, your favourites?
I built the B17G in my youth. Second Patches was the artwork aircraft, and that really hooked me on 8th Air Force and things like that era. At the time, I built an awful lot of American multi-engine bombers, and then they did the Privateer. And that really did do for me.
I was looking at their Lancaster artwork again this week, and thinking, and it just struck me that is an absolutely glorious piece of art. But it came along at a time when, Matchbox also do a Lancaster. It kind of, it didn't miss the Lancaster boat, but it just kind of passed by almost.
The Matchbox one had the slight misfortune to come out at the same time Airfix had just retooled theirs as well, or new tooled theirs. And Ian mentioned the B17, and there we go. B17 G, I believe it was, wasn't it?
Yeah. There was a second issue, I think, with a different artwork, or was it just that was the second decal option? I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember that artwork particularly.
I distinctly remember building it as Second Patches, and that might have been just because it was the OD over neutral grey option and not metallic, and no way was I painting a silver aircraft at that point. But no, that might be the one actually. No, that's a later. That's a Revell era.
Yeah, that's a later boxing, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's a much later boxing.
Yeah.
No, it's not. That's not Revell era, because Revell only ever did the Matchbox kits in one colour. So kind of missed the point there, really.
They all had made in China stamps on them as well.
Yeah. Chris, did Matchbox make much of an impact in America?
We didn't have the giant avalanche of kits you guys had, obviously, but they showed up here and there, and the two that jumped out to my mind, I had them in my collection. Well, I remember building as a kid HMS Ariadne. They did all these odd scale ships. I think it's like 1/600 scale or something like that. I always thought that was kind of a striking box art. But what I really liked is the Walrus. The Walrus box art shows it taxiing in this kind of sunset scene, and this purples, very very vivid colors, and it's just like, how do you get the model to sit on the shelf with lots of other models and jump out at the people who are coming down the aisles casually to buy?
That box art's beautiful. It's got like little Chinese junks in the background. It's absolutely absolutely.
I can remember one of the box arts on the side. You used to look at the box art on the side of the boxes for other stuff. And I was just obsessed with the Vigan for years because you just couldn't find it anywhere. That for some reason, the kit just didn't seem to ever hit the shelves. And I was obsessed with it for years because it was such a great piece of box art. I think it was probably, I mean, I say years, it was probably 3 or 4 years after I first saw it that I finally found a Vigan turn up at the local paper shop. And I'm like, where do I get the money for this? I need the money. I need the money. And you know, and to be blunt, it's not a great kit, but the box art just.
They went through a stage of retooling things as 2-seaters, and they retooled.
Yes, they did. Yeah, they retooled the Vigan as an SK37.
Yeah.
I can just remember for whatever reason, the Vigan was the one I wanted that I couldn't get. Because it was a production one and the Airfix kit wasn't. But they just never seemed to turn up anywhere.
Well, that's the thing is the Matchbox, the Matchbox Jaguar. I love that box art. The Matchbox Jaguar came out when that came out. That was a proper GR1, whereas the Airfix and the Frog ones at the time were still pointy nose Jaguars. So in fact, the Frog one was a French Jaguar A and an RAF 2-seater. And the Airfix one was just a pointy nose Jaguar GR1. So, but no, that's probably my favourite piece of Roy Huxley Matchbox box art. It's isn't that just glorious?
It is. But you see what I mean about, and I see what Spencer means about the impressionistic element of that. Roy Cross's version of that artwork would have been much more precise and crisp. That is just fabulous.
It just screams excitement, as does that as well. That is the 72nd Scale Hurricane. In truth, not a great kit, but that box art. I mean, it when you look at it, the brushwork is very free, isn't it? It's very. I don't want to say sketchy. I don't mean sketchy in a negative sense, but it's very impressionistic. But that doesn't matter. It's what it conveys, and that is just absolutely stunning.
And Roy is bang on the money. One of the favourites, the Mosquito NF30 again. Just a fantastic piece of box art. Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
I still recall lots of. If you look in the corner of that image, these buildings that are completely engulfed in flame. I think that was one of Roy Huxley's. It was one of his great space fillers on a canvas. You know, a building completely engulfed in flames to the point where it's been bombed 4 hours ago.
If you look at it from a practical point of view, it's a night fighter aircraft dropping bombs in a day. Really? Okay.
That's Rory's favourite piece of Roy Huxley box art, and I think honourable mention should be made for the Lightning as well.
That's a really nice painting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
That's a proper picture of a Lightning.
Yeah,
that's a really nice painting. Also, show the A7D then. Show the course.
I can't find the A7D.
The Hayford.
Bear with.
We'll just admire that Hayford while you're doing it.
Admire the Hayford whilst I do that. Let's go and find the
tricky kit to build that Hayford.
It's
all balanced and drying, and then when you turn around and the thing had slumped.
It was like it was built upside down, wasn't it? Like the wings, the lower wing hanging below the fuselage rather than the upper wing being.
And was it another one that was condemned to the 99-foot wingspan as well, if I remember correctly?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's.
There you go, Drew.
Well, look,
I've actually Simon Owen, who was when he was Airfix's R&D guru, actually gave me a Matchbox A7D in that particular boxing. So that was one I always wanted to have. And I tell you what, as a kid, when I used to draw explosions, the Roy Huxley way. It was just that kind of, kaboom like that. But that's just a brilliant piece of artwork, isn't it?
I think Steve's saying A7D in purple, green, and brown plastic. I can remember green and brown.
I remember it being in green, black, and kind of a sky type S.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah.
Mhm.
The undersides of the wings were in the sky shade.
Mhm.
The pylons, I remember that.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were all the same combinations. I
No,
never.
no.
No, I can remember a very early Mustang boxing with the lid lifted, and that was in a blue and dark brown. The fuselage parts were dark brown, and later on it became pale blue and red.
Later on, it became this weird pearlescent kind of light silver color as well. Jeff Baker says, "What about the 76 scale armor box art?" Do you know what, Jeff? We'll do that next time. We'll talk about Matchbox armor on a future show. So, right, gents. Any other business?
No, not for me.
No, none here.
No. The rain's hammering down here at the northern end of Somerset, Drew. I don't know what it's like down the south end at the moment.
It's been miserably persistent all day.
Yeah.
I suspect it. I haven't looked out the window, but I suspect it still is.
Lox9 also says Matchbox cars also. Yeah, we will. Perhaps what we'll do is we'll do a special Matchbox show, because we'll talk about the genres that perhaps we've never dabbled in. I've never built any of the Matchbox ships or cars, so and I know I've actually got the Tyrrell P34 that was sent to me, rather kindly sent to me. So we'll do something about that at some stage. So until the next time, yeah, Steve Moores has got it there. Definitely need a Matchbox Memories evening again. What do you reckon? Matchbox March? We could call it Marchbox, couldn't we?
Long as we don't do ICM again, we're all right, aren't we?
Nah, sorry about that, folks. Right, okie dokie. That's it for tonight, folks. We will love you and leave you. Hopefully, we'll be back this time next week. Until the meantime, as always, thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay out of trouble, and tonight we will leave you with this. Good night. And run VT.
Oh, or not, as the case may be.